You can see the slides, no? Can you see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So today we'll start with the module 3. Right. So we have done with module 2. Okay. So now I think in the last class when I was saying something related to the what we call it as Fourier transform, some disturbance was there, and I think I was not clearly audible for some moment there. Right. So now. For that, so if you want, I'll send one more link there, which is again dealing with the same concept that I have dealt there. Okay, people can look into that particular link. You can open that link and you can check it out. Okay, so a little bit early that gap you people can make up with the help of that particular stuff. Okay, so I'll send you the link. All right. So people can check it out. But I'll be sending it again in the mail. I mean, in a Teams itself, and using one document file or the text file there. So people can check there. So that you open that link and you just go to the YouTube. In YouTube, that particular person has explained about this particular Fourier transform series there. Right. So people can check it out. Right. Okay, so now today I'll start with the module 3. So what this module 3 is talking about? Module 3 is talking about these stuffs. So it talks about arrays. Then, so we are supposed to talk about arrays. In arrays you have 1D and you have 2D, right? And along with 1D and 2D arrays, so we'll be going ahead with the character arrays, okay? So, and the strings there. Then these are some of the algorithms that we people are going to study in the under the heading of arrays there, right? So these are all dependent on the array concept there, right? So not only that, so I think 2 to 3 programs you are supposed to execute in the laboratory related to strings as well as I think 1D array and 2D array. I think 4 programs may be there, right? So one on binary search, one is on bubble sort, one is on strings, another one is on the 2D array, that is matrix multiplication that you're supposed to do in the laboratory, right? Okay, so now, so these are the things that you are supposed to study in the third module. Okay, again and again I'm saying the same thing to you all. So this array concept is very, very important, and you have sufficient knowledge about the conditional statement, that is branching statement that you people have studied in the second module, input output statement along with IO statement along with the looping statement. Okay, if you know all these things, then only we people can proceed with this arrays. Okay, this particular concepts arrays. If you don't have knowledge of this particular stuff, we are unable to discuss anything related to the arrays here. Okay, so I know that you people are already understood everything related to these input output statements. Okay, and the conditional or the branching statements and the looping statements. Okay, with that understanding, so we'll go ahead with the arrays. Okay, why do we need this array? So let's look into this. So if I am interested to find an average of the temperature, okay, average of a temperature in a week. Okay, how many days are there in a week?
7.
7.
7.
Correct? Right. So how many temperature you people can have for 7 days?
7 temperatures.
7 temperatures. Correct, no? Is it okay? 7 temperature you people are having. Then if I'm telling you people to find the average of this, so it's very easy. So just to take the temporary variable, something like T1, T2, T3 and so on up to T7 and give the temperature or assign the temperature to individual variables T1 to T7 there. Then you add up all values T1 to T7 there and divide it by 7. It is going to give you the average of that. Okay, 7 is okay with us. If I say you people find the average of the temperature for a month, then how many days you have to how many temperature you have to consider? How many temperatures you are supposed to consider? Hello? Hello? Hello students.
In month, how many days are?
Correct, no? So if I assume there are 30 days in a month, then because that is constant value, so sometimes 30 or 31. So you can take any one of those two things, right? So now if 30 days are there, so how many temperature you have to consider?
30 temperatures, ma'am.
Correct, no? 30
30, ma'am.
temperature, right? So how many temperature variable you have to define for this?
30, ma'am.
30, no? So start from T1, okay, up to T30, you have to define the variables, correct, for the temperature. Do you agree for this?
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
agree for that, right? So do you feel this is this the good way of doing this kind of stuff? Because defining a 30, okay, 30 is at least okay. So somehow we'll manage to type 30 variables T1 to T30. If I say, okay, find the average of the temperature in a year. So how many days are there in a year?
365.
Correct, no? 365. How many temperature you will have?
365.
Then how many temperature variable you have to define?
365
Do
days.
you feel this is an efficient way of doing this?
No, ma'am.
Defining
No, ma'am.
365 variables and assigning the value for these 365 temperature variables?
No, ma'am.
No. Correct,
No,
no?
ma'am.
So we need an alternate method for this. Correct? We need an alternate method for this. So that alternate method is called as arrays. Is it okay? We are not interested to define those many variables. So we'll just check it out. Is it possible for us to store any number of, okay, I'm not saying only 7 temperature values or 30 values or 365 values there. So any number of values. So is it possible for us to store any number of values in a single variable? Okay, I'm not saying those many number of variables. I'm talking about only one variable. Is it possible for us? Okay, so now that's what this array talks about. Okay, so now we are capable of storing. So those many variables. How many you want? You can store those many datas. So you want to store a week data, you can store it in a single variable. You want to store 30 days data, so it is possible to store in a single variable. So if you want to store 365 days data in a single variable, that is also possible. Right? So that is made possible with the help of the concept called as arrays. Is it okay, students? Why we need the arrays? Is it okay, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So with this background, we'll move towards the array concept, right? Okay. So now it is to handle these kind of stuffs because I already mentioned it's very difficult for us to write the too many declarations. All right. So not recommended the this way of programming in C language at least. All right. So for that we go ahead with what we call it as array concept here. All right. So what is this array? So array, if you look at this array, it is collection of homogeneous elements. What do you mean? What do you mean by homogeneous?
Same, ma'am.
Pardon?
Same elements, ma'am.
Same. Correct, no? Same elements. The meaning of same in case of array is the elements which have same data type. Okay, same data type means if I take one element of or one element temperature element as float there, okay, so all element, okay, should be float only. That's what is the meaning of same, that is homogeneous elements, same data type. Okay, so we are, array is nothing but a collection of homogeneous elements. Homogeneous means the elements having the same data type. There should not be any variation in that. I cannot say that one element should be of integer, another element should be of floating point, third element should be of character. This is not acceptable in case of array. So how many elements I am defining for the particular array there? all should have same data type there. Is it okay? Same data type. Clear, student? Is it okay, students? Homogeneous elements, same kind of data. How many data it is left to you people? Whether you want to store only 7 temperature, whether you want to store 30 temperatures, whether you want to store 365 temperatures, it is left to you people. Right? But all data, whatever you are taking related to temperature, all should have same data type there. So one shouldn't be integer, another shouldn't be into floating point value, something like that. If you are taking all temperature in floating point value, all temperature should be in a floating point itself. If you are taking all temperature in integer, so all should be integer itself. So same data type. Then only I can able to store those things in a single variable called as array. So that's name itself or the definition itself is telling us array is a collection of homogeneous elements or the elements having the same data types. Okay, stored in a sequential, that is sequentially, that is one after the another. So there should not be any break. If I am storing the first element here, next element should be stored in the conjugative memory location. So one I am storing here, another should be stored, first I am storing here, second should be stored here, and third should be stored here. That is not acceptable in case of arrays. These should be stored in a sequential manner. Okay, one after the another, consecutive memory location, contiguous memory locations. Is it okay, students? I need your reply. This is very important concept that I am dealing with. Right? So if I say this is a memory location, you already know about memories. In the beginning class only I have mentioned about that. Memory is having the locations here. Each location will have its own addresses here. Right? So what I am going to store? First data will be stored here. Second data will be stored here. Third data will be stored here. So I have to store in a contiguous manner. I am not supposed to skip a single memory location whenever I am dumping the data or storing the data inside the memory using the array concept there. So this is what it talks about. Stored sequentially one after the other in the memory. Clear? If it is clear to you all, then this is going to give you a very good idea about the pointers. Once I start dealing with the pointers becomes very easy. If you understand arrays, pointer is based on array itself. Is it okay, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so any doubt regarding this, you people can ask me. So before I proceed with. Any doubt? So I'll go ahead with the rules. If you have understood the definition of array, need your response. Please give response faster. No issues?
No doubts, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
We'll follow some of the rules whenever we proceed with the arrays, right? The array should be declared with some data type. So whenever I mention this is an array, if I say this is an array, right? So this should have one data type for this. I have to mention that data type. Okay, that I have to remember. Without that, I am unable to do anything because this is the thing that is telling me what kind of a data I am going to store inside that particular array. This is the data type that is telling me what kind of a data I am going to store inside the arrays there. Okay, so arrays must be declared with data type. One or the other data type. You already know variety of data types, right? Okay, so all array elements should be same data type, right? So I already mentioned. So what kind of a data I'm going to store inside this particular memory location? So that is fixed. If it is an array, okay. So now if array of 10 is here, if I say R5 is here, so this has created 5 memory location in the name of A there. So in all the location, we should be able to store same kind of data. Okay, so whose data type is same? That's what we mentioned here, homogeneous elements. Array element should be of same data type. Okay, this is the second rule. Next, the size of an array is finite. So what is the size? I have to mention the size, how many data you are interested to store in that particular, the variable there, right? Array variable there. Whether you want to store 5 data, whether you want to store 10 data, 100 data, 300 data, 400 data. So this should be finite. The size of the array should be finite. I cannot simply say it is an infinite data I am going to store inside a particular variable, that is array variable. It is not true. It should be finite. Is that clear? And you cannot define something like this. Okay, so let's compiler should assume its value automatically. No, it is not possible. In case of array, you have to say, so how many locations you are interested to create for this particular array variable. Is that okay? Is it okay, students? Is it okay? Hello?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
mean, okay, then in an array element, okay, so stored sequentially, this is already again I have mentioned, the same thing whatever I've said in the above statement, so those are acting as the rules for this. So data in the array must be stored in a sequential memory locations, contiguous memory location. There should not be any break in between. Okay. Next, only one element can be added or removed from an array. If you have stored 10 data inside the array there, okay, then at any given instant of a time, you are able to access only, are able to read only one data, not the multiple data. If you tell me to read simultaneously 5 data from the 10 data of an array there, it is not possible. Okay, so you can read and you can append or you can remove only one data element from the array. Is it okay? At any given instant of a time, right? I cannot do multiple, okay, removal of the data, multiple accessing of the data from the array, or multiple addition of the data in the array. So in one time I can add only one data, I can remove only one data, I can, okay, so now read only one data, I can write only one data. Is that okay? Hello? Okay. The subscript of the first item is always 0. Array element always starts with its index value as 0. Okay, so what is the meaning of that? I'll just draw a simple figure for you all. So I said that I am going to take an array here. Okay, so now this is capable of storing something like 5 data, right? Because I have declared something like that. So this is an array which is capable of storing 5 data there. So I'll be mentioning it as integer. So this array which is having 5 memory locations and it is capable of storing integer data. So if I draw memory, third memory, fourth memory and fifth memory, then how exactly I am able to store the data? So because this is capable of storing 5 data, then what is an address that I can give to the individual location? Only one variable but capable of storing 5 data. Then how do I identify the individual data there? So that is identified by, okay, the number that is assigned with the, we call this as index or the subscript over here. So that must be written inside the square braces. A of 0, A of 1, A of 2, A of 3 and A of 4 here. Okay, so this is called as either subscript or the index. Okay, so with the help of index value, we are able to get the data or we are able to store the data into an array. Okay, please remember this is what is happening inside the array, because array is capable of storing multiple data, but multiple data of same data type, right? So I am storing the same data type, so I will write it as 20, 25, 30, maybe 40, maybe 40, 25. So all are integers. I'm storing same data type data inside the memory location. Which memory location? Inside an array, that is A. But in which, because A is capable of storing 5 data, in which location I am supposed to dump? So that will be told with the help of its index value 0, 1, and the array index value always begins with 0. It never starts with other than 0 there. Is it okay? Whenever you define, okay, so if you declare it as int a of something like 10 here, so its index value always starts from 0 to 9. So it never starts with a of 1 to 10. So this is not valid in case of this array. That's what the rule is talking about. The subscript or the index value of the first item always starts with 0. Is it okay, students?
Yes.
Okay. The data items can be accessed by the name of an array with the different subscripts. That's what I was mentioning there, right? So I may write it as A of 0, A of 2. Okay, the meaning of this is I am going to access the data from the first location of the array. I am going to access the data from the third location, because if you look at this, this is first location is A of 0, second one is A of 1, third one is A of 2 there. So I am going to access the third data from the array. Okay, how do I access? By giving the name of an array with the different subscript or the different index values here. Is it okay? This is how you people are able to access the data. Then index value must be an integer. Okay, so whatever index value or the subscript I am taking here, it must be an integer. By chance also, by mistake also, you are not supposed to take it as a floating point value. Please remember, I cannot write this as A of 1.0, B or A of 1.1. This is not valid. Okay, it must be an integer. Index must be, subscript must be an integer. Is it okay? Is it
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
students? Okay, so these are the rules that you have to remember whenever you play with the arrays. Right? So once we know the rules, we'll go ahead with the different types of arrays. So you already know, okay, fixed size sequenced collection of a same data types is called an array. Right? We already know about that. Then please remember, array is a derived data type. What is this derived data type? You already studied the primary data type there. What are the primary data type that you people have studied?
Int, float, char,
Very
double.
good. All right. So int, float, okay, char. So these are the primitive or the primary data types. So with the help of these things, we are going to derive something. That's why we call it as a derived data type. You may ask what we are deriving. We are not deriving anything actually. So whenever we write the data type there, so here I'll be mentioning that I am going to create an array of a particular size here. So all these data are having the same data type. This is primitive data type, but this, okay, this is acceptable or accepted as a primitive data type. If I add something along with this is called as the derived data type, because I am not, for a single variable, it's not taking the single kind of data there. Okay, so here the same data which is capable of holding multiple datas, okay, I am declaring with the same data type there. So that's why we call it as a derived data type. So you may ask, only same kind of data we need to store. If you want, if we have different kinds of data set, then is it not possible for us to store that data? So that is also possible, but not in case of arrays. So this derived data type is not supporting that. It is going to store only same kind of data. Okay, if you want to store different kinds of data, that is also possible. That is also coming under derived data type only, but this is not array. So that is given with a different name for that. Okay, that we'll be studying in the fourth module there. Is that okay? Is it okay? Something? Have you understood? Hello? Okay. So now, types of an array. So what is types of an array? So you have variety types of arrays that are found here. So you have one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array, and multi-dimensional arrays. Right? Okay. So now, in our syllabus, we will be dealing with only 1D array and 2D array. So it doesn't mean that C is not supporting the multi-dimensional array. It supports multi-dimensional array also. But in our syllabus, we have only 1D array and 2D array. We'll be going in depth of only 1D array and 2D array. Is it okay? Is it okay? So I'll begin with one-dimensional array. What is this one-dimensional? What do you mean by one-dimensional? What do you mean by one-dimensional? Hello? What do you mean by one-dimensional? If you are able to represent the data in the form of either row or column, like this, then I call this as one-dimensional array, which can be, each location can be identified by only one index there, index value there, okay, or subscript value there. Okay, so now in that case, I call this as one-dimensional array. If you are able to store the data in the form of either row or a column, right? So then I call this as one-dimensional array. And each location will be identified by only one subscript, okay, or one index value. I hope I'm making it clear. Okay, this is very important. We are going to play with only one subscript in this case, one index value in this case. Right? So it may be either in the form of rows or in the form of columns. Right? So how you want to take it, people can take, and each location will be identified by its index value. That's all. Okay. Let's proceed with the declaration of the or creation of the 1D array. How can we create the 1D array? This is a syntax. So first one is data type, okay, followed by the name of an array, and you have to mention the size. Size should be an integer. By mistake also, it shouldn't be a floating point value, okay, and it cannot be other than integer. You have to mention here. So whatever size you are going to mention there, okay, so now those many locations will be created in the name of this particular array. Is it okay, students? Is it okay? Yes. Right. So now, if you look at the example here, data type, these are the data types. Okay. So marks, so it's a name of the array. So this is array name, and so you have to mention the size inside the square braces. So now you are able to create the memory location for this particular variable called as marks, but this is an array, because array, I'll call this as an array variable because it is capable of storing 10 data. Then how it is going to create the 10 memory location? We have already mentioned it is going to create the 10 memory location in the successive manner, or the consequence, or the sequential manner, or the contiguous memory location there. So if I write here, okay, so let me take like this. So if I write this as marks here, okay, so marks. So each, it is able to store 10 marks values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then how do I identify the individual location? Because all have the same name, marks. And how do I identify the individual location? It is identified by its index value. The first index value always begins with 0. Okay, so marks of 0, then marks of 1, marks of, okay, 2, marks of 3, marks of 4, marks of 5, marks of 6. What is the last value that you people can take? Marks of 7. What is the last value that you people are supposed to take? Index value?
Marks of
Marks of
9.
9.
9. Is it okay? Right? So marks of 8 and marks of 9. Is it okay? So now this is how we are identifying the individual location to pick our data or to dump our data into the memory location. But each memory location have the same name. Every location has got the same name called as marks here. Only this index value is helping me in which particular location our data is stored or removed or taken out of it. Is it okay? This is how it is going to create this particular marks of 10. The same thing is true for grade also. If you go ahead with grade, so this is column wise, so you can show it in the form of row wise also. So this is what we call it as grade here. I'll write it as grade of 0, grade of 1. Okay, so grade of 2 here. Okay, grade of 3 here. Then grade of 4 here. What is the last value? What is the last value for this? Grade
Grade
of?
of 6. Grade of 5, ma'am.
Very good. Okay, so it ranges from 0 to 5. For this it is 0 to 9. So for this it is 0 to 5. What about the last one? Its index
0
value
to
ranges
14.
from 0 to 14. This you have to remember. Is it okay? Is this okay? Any confusion in this case?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so let's proceed with some more examples of the same thing. Okay, this is an example of this. So look at this int a of 8 here. So I have the same variable name, array name, but each location will be identified by extracted with the help of its index value 0, 1, 2. So 8 is there. So last value should be 7 here. Okay. So now these are the addresses assigned by me, or these are the names that is assigned by the end user or the programmer. These are the addresses assigned by the compiler. Okay, compiler usually assigns the addresses like this. Is it okay, students? Any doubts you people can ask me. Please ask the questions. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. I'm not assigning these addresses. I'm unable to remember these addresses also. Right? So this is whichever memory is free at that instant of a time from the, from looking into that, the compiler is going to assign that particular address to your A value there. Is it okay? A of 0 is always holding the starting address of an array. So A of 0 is talking about it holds this particular address here. Right? So this is an address. Now you look at this. This is after 8 you have 10 here. After 10 you have 12 here. Why it is 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 here? Why not it is 8, 9, 10, something like that? Any one of you students? Hello? I need your response. Okay, so whenever I say something like this, okay, so it always helps you in the future classes also, right? So I'm just asking you, okay, so here it is given as 2, then it is 10, then 12, then 14. Why not it is after 8, you don't have 9, 10, 11 here? Hello? Hello, am I audible, students? Can you hear me? Please give the response. Hello? Give the response, students.
Don't know, ma'am.
You don't know. Okay, no issue. At least you say that much. That I can conclude that. Right. So what is this data type?
Int.
What is the data? Int. So how many bytes do you require to store an integer value?
2 bytes.
2 bytes. So memory can store how much data there?
2 data.
Each location is capable of storing how much of data?
1 data.
Only 1 byte, no?
Yes.
Right? So how many locations do you require to store an integer value?
2 locations.
Correct, no? 2 location, no? If I'm storing my first data in the first location, okay, so I need 2 locations to store my integer data. This should be stored using 2 memory location, not single memory location. Because you already know integer requires 2 memory locations. R2, it's a 2 bytes and it requires 2 memory locations. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So that's why we write first location should be to store this integer. I need 2 locations. So 8 and 9 are meant for to store 12. 10 and 11 are meant to store 34. 12 and 13 are meant to store 66. 14 and 15 are meant to store minus 45. And 16 and 17 are meant to store 23. Then 18 and 19 are meant to store 346. Okay, 20 and 21 are meant to store 77. 20 and 21, sorry, that's done. So 22 and 23 are meant to store the 90 data. Is this okay to everybody? So
Yes, ma'am.
this, whatever I am saying today, this is an idea to talk about the computer organization that you are going to learn in the third semester. Okay. So whatever I am saying, this is a base for computer organization. Okay. So now I'll ask one more simple questions to you. So I'll write float, okay, a of 3. Now tell me.
What we have to tell, ma'am?
Float a of 3. Then how do you create the memory location?
Difference of 4, ma'am.
Correct, no? Right? So if I write the first location is 1000 here, what is the next location then?
1004.
Correct? Then next location should be 1008. So this should be A of 0, A of 1, A of 2. So this is capable of storing a floating point value. So I'll write it as 3.8, so 33.8, maybe 40.9, something like this. So this same kind of data I have to store. Okay. So I'm going to store the float data inside the memory location whose name is A here, and it is capable of storing floating point data. And to store floating point data, I require minimum 4 memory location because float corresponds to a 4 bytes. Is it okay? Is it okay, students? That's why if
Yes,
you
ma'am.
look at the compiler assigns 4 memory locations for individual A of 0, A of 1 and A of 2 there. Because to store a floating point value, okay, I require minimum 4 locations. Okay, so I'll take one more example. Character B of something like 3. Okay, so now you tell me. How many memory locations do you require to store character?
1, ma'am.
1. Correct, no? So if I write the starting location as 2000, then what is the next location then?
2001, ma'am.
Correct?
Yeah.
Understood? Understood, students? Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is B of 0, B of 1, B of 2. Right, this is how the system is assigning the addresses, right? I'm not doing anything, okay? The system will do this. I'll be taking care of only these things, right? Why I said about these things? Because this is going to, we'll be dealing with these kind of stuff in the, okay, so next upcoming pointer concepts also. So that's why I dealt with these things. You need to know this. This base is required for that. And for the computer organization also, you need this. So any doubts you people can ask me before I proceed with the next bit. Is this, how can you store the data inside the memory? Is it understood? Okay, please remember this is very important concept that I am dealing, which is going to give a very good support for the data structures, to learn data structures. Right, so please listen to me very carefully. So any doubts you people can ask me. Otherwise, I'll go ahead with the next bit of the same array. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
No doubts, ma'am.
Okay, so let's proceed with the storing values inside the arrays. How can I store the values? I have created the array. You already know I have created an array, and I know that how it is capable of storing the arrays in the memory. I mean, data in the memories. Okay, how continuous memory locations are allocated. Everything I have understood, right? If it is something like the integer, how many locations are dedicated for the individual variable there, and if it is floating point value, how many locations are dedicated for that. Everything we have understood. Now I am interested to read some value into the arrays now. How can I read? There are two ways to read the arrays, values into the array. First one is compile time initialization. Second one is runtime initialization. Okay, so maximum time they'll ask related to these things. Okay. So how can you store the data? So this storage of a data inside the arrays can be done with the help of compile time initialization and a runtime initialization. Okay, so first we'll talk about the compile time initialization, then we'll go ahead with the runtime initialization. Okay, so now before I talk about the proceeding with the compile time, so I'll just ask you, so what may be the difference between compile time and runtime? You compile the program and you run the program, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what is the difference?
Compile time means in within the program, and runtime means during executing, after the execution of program, when we are uh, putting a input that time.
Right. Okay, so compile time means whenever you are given, okay, so you have written a program with an extension C, then this will be given to the input as a compiler. Compiler is going to translate the C program into an object file there. Okay, translate this, because the duty of the compiler is translate the C program into the machine language there, that is object code here. So whenever it is translating that program, so that time it is going to assign the values to the particular variables. Okay, whatever array variable that you are writing there, so that time it is going to assign those values. That time it is going to dump the data inside the memory. So if you go ahead with runtime there, after, okay, so compilation of the program, so you are going to execute your file. So once you execute your file, so that time, because first time is compile, then you will be executing the program if I am not wrong. Correct now? First you'll compile the program now. First you'll save the program. After saving the program, first you'll compile the program. Correct? I need your response,
ma'am.
students.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So after compilation, you are going ahead with the execution. So during the execution, it will ask the end user, read the values for the array. So if you are reading at that instant of a time, then we call it as runtime initialization. If you are reading it from the keyboard, okay, then I call it as a runtime initialization. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's proceed with the storing of the values in the array using the compile time initialization. Okay, so in that case, first we'll be studying initialization. Okay, during the what we call it as the declaration. Okay, so during the declaration, you people can initialize the value. This is declaration. You already know. How do you do that? So it's very simple syntax is there for that. How you people have done for the declaration of an array. Okay, that is initialization of a variable during the declaration. Have you done the initialization of a variable during the declaration? I'll repeat my question. Have you done the initialization during the declaration?
Yes, ma'am.
How have you done?
Sum equals to 0, fact equals to 1.
Where I have to write that? Sum, I'll be writing sum is equal to 0. So where should I write this? Whenever I am declaring this, so that time I can do the initialization, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, so this is what we call it as initialization of the variable during the declaration. So this is declaration. I'm declaring it. Correct, I'm intimating the compiler that I'm going to use this particular sum as an integer inside my program whose value is initialized with 0. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, so similar to this, we people can also do the initialization of one dimensional array using or during the declaration itself. How do we do that? So here data type, because it's a declaration, without this I cannot proceed. Then name of the array, you have to mention the size of an array, then you have to write the whatever value you are interested to place inside that particular array. Okay, so where v1, v2, v3 up to vn are the values that you are supposed to write. If you look at the example, integer is a data type. So A is capable of, A is an array which is capable of storing an integer value. How many values? 5 values it is capable of storing. Is it okay, students? Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, so what are the value it is storing now? So I am writing the same values here. This is what I am doing the initialization. So individual location, that is a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3, a of 4 will be assigned with these values. So that's what I have written. A of 0 is 21, a of 1 is, okay, in a sequential manner only it is going to read. It is not going to read any random data there. First 21 has come, so 21 has to be stored inside a of 0. 45 is going to be stored in a of 1. 34 is going to be stored in a of 2. 56 is stored inside a of 3. And 67 is stored inside the a of 4. Is it okay? This is what we call it as initialization during the declaration. Clear, students? Say something. Make it fast, I have to
Yes,
leave
ma'am.
you. Right? Okay. So sometimes what we people will do, we will not assign, I will not write the size here. So you may ask, madam, that time you said you are not, you said you cannot write like that. If you don't write anything inside this, then how can it is capable of defining the, creating the memory location there. Here also it is capable of storing the, assigning the, or creating the memory location, but here it is just counting the number of data that your people have given. If you are not giving this data, if you write like this simply, then it is wrong. But if you are writing the assignment values, whatever value you are interested to store, depending on the number of values, it is going to create those many memory locations there. If you are writing like this, then only use like this. Otherwise, if you are simply creating something like this, then this is not valid. Okay, by mistake also don't write like this. It is going to throw an error. Size of an array is not defined. I am unable to create the memories for the array. Is it clear? If you are writing the values, okay, you know these are the values that I am going to dump inside this, then you can, okay, write this as u of, okay, open brace and a close brace, square brace that you are supposed to use. Is it okay? Say something, students. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, so I have not mentioned anything, means what compiler is, how many memory location it is going to create for A now? How many memory location it is going to create for A?
Two, ma'am.
How many? How many memory location it is going to create for this particular A?
5 memory locations.
5, you know? Why 5? Because it will count the number of values that we have assigned for this array. How many values we have assigned?
5 values.
5 values. That's why it is going to create 5 memory location for this particular array. And each index value will again start from 0. A of 0, A of 1, A of 2, A of 3 and A of 4. Is it okay? So 21 will be stored here, then 45 will be stored here, 34 will be stored, then 56 and 67 will be stored. So that's what I mentioned here, right? So this is also correct, because based on the number of elements specified, the size will be computed and automatically, and it is helping to create those many memory locations there. Clear, students? Clear? Say something. Understood, students?
Yes.
Okay, so now other bit. Okay, so these are some more examples of that. So I'll be taking it in the next class then. Is it okay? So please, I request all of you concentrate on this, because this is where exactly your C language begins with. Okay, those are the basics that you people have studied. Now, your computer, if you are going to be part of computer science, your always work begins from the arrays, functions, and the pointers itself. Okay, so before that, what you have studied, those are going to be part of these things. Without those things, we cannot proceed. So that's why I've taken so many classes, just to make you people to understand those looping concepts, the branching statements, and the input-output statement there. Okay, so now those concepts we'll be adopting in these things. Clear? Is it okay, students? So you have any queries, you people can ask me. So before I can conclude